You know that dashboard warning light you keep ignoring? That light could cost you $2,500 at a dealership, or it could cost you nothing. The difference is knowing a handful of free car reset tricks that mechanics pray you never discover. Here's the brutal truth. You are probably about to hand over $50, $100, maybe $200 for something that takes 30 seconds to fix. Dealerships have spent decades hiding these procedures because there is no profit in teaching you. I have used these tricks to save over $15,000 in repair bills. Today, I am revealing 12 of them. And trick number 1 at the end could save you from a transmission replacement that costs thousands. Stick around for that. One thing to understand first. Modern cars have computers that constantly learn and adapt, storing data in temporary memory. Interrupt the power, that memory gets erased. That is why these resets work. Let us get into it, starting with trick number 12. When people see their airbag or SRS light come on, they try every reset trick they know. They disconnect the battery, pull fuses, cycle the key. Nothing works. The light stays on. Here is what you need to know. The airbag system is different from almost everything else in your car. It stores fault codes in something called non-volatile memory, which means the codes stay even when all power is removed. This is a safety feature built into the system to preserve crash records and deployment history. Airbag codes are only cleared when the actual fault is fixed, and the code is erased with the right scan tool. Generic scanners often cannot access airbag systems. You need a more advanced tool or a shop visit for this one. But now you know why all those reset tricks never work on that light. It saves you from wasting hours trying things that will never succeed. That knowledge alone is worth the time you just invested. Now here is something that frustrates people every single time they get an oil change. Trick number 11 is what I call the trip button, oil light vanish. Whether you do the oil change yourself or have it done at a shop, you get back in the car and that annoying maintenance reminder is still glowing. What do most people do? They either ignore it until it drives them crazy or make an unnecessary trip back to the shop just to have someone reset it. Some people even pay for this 30-second fix. Here's how it works on many vehicles. With your ignition off, press and hold the trip reset button on your instrument cluster. Keep holding while you turn the ignition to the on position without starting the engine. Hold for about 15 seconds. The oil light resets and disappears. Done. Some vehicles hide this in menu systems accessible through your steering wheel controls. Others require you to scroll to a maintenance section, select oil life, and confirm the reset. The key is to follow the exact sequence for your specific make and model because button hold durations and menu navigation steps vary between model years and software revisions. If you do not reset this after an oil change, your car keeps counting down from the old service interval. That means next time you might change your oil too early or too late because the reminder is out of sync. But here is something that can leave you stranded if you do not know about it. Trick number 10. Your car has been running rough. You diagnose a bad crankshaft position sensor, replace it, double-check everything, and turn the key. The engine cranks but will not start. You just replace the sensor that tells the computer when to fire the spark plugs. So why will it not start? On many vehicles, when you replace certain sensors like the crankshaft or camshaft position sensor, the computer needs to relearn the sensor signal pattern before it can start the engine. On some GM vehicles, this is called a crankshaft position variation relearn and requires a scan tool. On other cars, the relearn happens automatically after several cranking attempts, but you have to keep trying, even though nothing seems to be working. If you just replaced one of these sensors and the car will not start, suspect a relearn is needed. Some vehicles require specific tools for CKP relearns, and manufacturer-level software may be necessary to perform VIN flashing and immobilizer synchronization when ECMS are replaced. Always research your specific vehicle before you start replacing more parts or calling a tow truck. Now here is something that happens after almost every tire fill-up. Trick number 9 catches people off guard constantly. They check their tire pressures, fill them to the right PSI, get back in the car, and see the tire pressure monitoring light still glowing. Some ignore it. Some drive around for days, hoping it will reset. Others make a trip to the dealership and sometimes pay $20 to $50 for a 10-second procedure. Many vehicles have a hidden TPMS reset button that has been in your car the whole time. On some Toyota and Prius models, it is under the driver footwell near the hood latch. On some Honda models, it is beside the dimmer switches. On Nissan vehicles, it might be in the glove box or below the steering column. The button is usually small, often unlabeled or marked with a tire icon. Here is how to use it. Make sure all 4 tires are at the correct pressure listed on your door jamb sticker. Start the engine. Find the reset button and press it for about 3 seconds until the light blinks or you hear a beep. The system has now relearned your tire pressures. If your car does not have a physical button, try inflating all tires 3 to 5 psi over the recommended pressure and driving at highway speeds for 20 to 30 minutes. This forces the system to recognize the change, then reduce them back to the correct pressure. One thing that surprises people is that TPMS lights often come on with seasonal temperature changes. When it gets colder, tire pressure drops about 1 to 2 psi for every 10-degree drop. Adjust your pressures with the seasons and reset the system. Now let me show you something your car has been hiding from you. Trick number 8 is about reading your car's secrets without spending a dime on scan tools. Right in front of you is a sophisticated computer monitoring dozens of systems, but when you look at your gauges, you see just the basics. On many BMWs, there is a hidden test mode. Hold the trip odometer reset button, turn the ignition to position 1 without starting, keep holding until the test menu appears, then cycle through by pressing the button again. These menus show coolant temperature, battery voltage, fuel consumption, and various sensor readings normally reserved for technicians. For older cars from before 1996, you can read trouble codes with nothing more than a paperclip. Under your dash near the steering column is a diagnostic connector. By jumping 2 specific terminals, you put the computer into diagnostic mode. Turn the ignition on without starting, and the check engine light starts flashing in a pattern. A long flash means 10, short flashes mean 1s. So 1 long and 2 short is code 12. On many Nissan and Infiniti vehicles, you can read codes with your gas pedal. With the ignition on and engine off, fully press and release the accelerator 5 times in 5 seconds, then hold the pedal down for 10 seconds. The check engine light will flash out codes in long and short bursts. This same sequence can sometimes clear stored codes if you hold the pedal for an additional 10 seconds. For modern cars from 1996 and newer, a $20 Bluetooth OBD2 adapter that pairs with your phone is the best solution. It reads codes, clears them, and shows live data. More on how powerful this tool is later. Now here is a reset that catches almost everyone off guard after battery work. Trick number 7. You disconnect your battery for a repair or replacement. You reconnect everything and then discover your power windows no longer have the auto up or auto down feature. The switch works, but you have to hold it the entire way. That one-touch convenience you are used to is just gone. Most people either live with the annoyance or schedule a dealer appointment thinking something broke. The dealership charges a diagnostic fee to perform a reset that takes 3 seconds per window. With the ignition on, lower the window completely by holding the switch down. Once it is all the way down, keep holding for 3 more seconds. Then raise the window all the way up and keep holding the switch up for another 3 seconds. That is it. The window module relearns its travel limits and your auto function is back. This happens because your window system uses endpoint learning. The motor does not have physical limit switches. Instead, the computer learns where the window hits resistance at full up and full down. When you disconnect the battery, this learned data gets erased and the module disables the auto function as a safety measure. Some vehicles need you to do this on all 4 windows in a specific order. Subaru power window modules are known for losing their learned travel limits after battery disconnects and require this full lower and full raise switch hold sequence to restore automatic operation. Now here is a warning light that pops up after something as simple as an alignment. Trick number 6. People get their wheels aligned or have suspension work done, then drive away and notice the traction control or stability control light is suddenly on. Some go back to the shop, some schedule a dealer visit, others just drive around with the light on, hoping it will disappear. Here is what most people do not know. You can often clear this yourself with a simple steering wheel movement that takes about 10 seconds. Your car's stability control relies on knowing the exact position of your steering wheel. There is a sensor in the steering column that tracks how far and in which direction you turn. When you get an alignment, the relationship between the steering wheel and the wheels can change slightly. The computer sees this mismatch and turns on a warning light. Start the engine and let it idle. Turn the steering wheel all the way to the left until it stops and hold for 2 seconds. Then turn it all the way to the right and hold for 2 seconds. Return the wheel to center. Turn off the ignition, wait 5 seconds, and restart. In many cars, this lock-to-lock movement lets the sensor recalibrate and the warning light goes away. Also, check the wheel speed sensors, especially after brake work or driving through mud. Damaged wheel speed sensor wiring or connectors disturbed during wheel removal can cause persistent traction control warnings. Cleaning the sensor faces with a wire brush and brake cleaner can restore proper readings. If you are finding this valuable, hit that like button so YouTube suggests this to other car owners. Now let me show you how to reset your idle and fix rough or high idle without replacing expensive sensors. Trick number 5 covers 3 related issues that people often think require separate repairs. They experience a persistent high idle where the engine sits at 1200 or 1500 RPM instead of the normal 700 to 800. Or they have a rough idle with codes pointing to airflow problems. Or they cleaned their throttle body and now the idle is even worse than before. All of these can often be fixed for about $5. First, the mass airflow sensor. It sits in the intake between your air filter and throttle body and measures how much air enters the engine. Its sensing element is a delicate hot wire that collects oil vapor and dust over time, causing it to read wrong. Find your mass airflow sensor and disconnect the electrical connector. Remove the sensor from the intake tube by loosening 2 screws. Spray it thoroughly with mass airflow sensor cleaner, not carb cleaner and not brake cleaner, because those leave residue. Let it air dry for 15 minutes and reinstall. While you have things apart, clean your throttle body too. Use throttle body specific cleaners and avoid manually moving the throttle plate while powered, because this can necessitate additional relearn steps or produce sticky throttle behavior. Spray throttle body cleaner onto a rag and wipe the throttle bore and plate. If you have a persistent high idle, look for a small adjustment screw on the side of the throttle body. This acts as a physical stop for the throttle plate. If set too far out, the plate cannot close completely and extra air sneaks in. When the blade does not seat fully, unmetered air bypasses the throttle plate and the idle air control valve is forced to close nearly completely to compensate. Turn this screw inward about a quarter turn at a time while watching your idle RPM. You should see it drop right away. After cleaning the throttle body, the computer needs to relearn the idle because it was compensating for the dirt, and now those adjustments are wrong. Make sure the engine is warm, turn off all accessories, then turn the ignition to on without starting. Wait 10 seconds and turn it off. Repeat this cycle 5 to 10 times. Then start the engine and let it idle for 10 minutes without touching the gas. On Nissan vehicles, there is a more specific 3-stage relearn process. The first stage is accelerator pedal released position learning. The second is throttle valve closed position learning. The third is idle air volume learning. Each stage has specific preconditions including stable battery voltage, specific coolant temperature windows, vehicle in park or neutral, and all electrical loads off. If any prerequisite is not satisfied, the ECM will abort the relearn. Nissan 350Z, G35, and G37 owners have a special technique called the pedal dance. With the ignition on and engine off, you fully press and release the accelerator pedal 5 times in 5 seconds, then hold it down for 20 seconds. This clears certain adaptive throttle parameters and can fix hesitation and rough idle that persists after cleaning the throttle body. The same sequence works on many Altima and Maxima models too. Now here is something for diesel owners who keep seeing that dreaded warning light. Trick number 4. For diesel owners, nothing is worse than seeing the DPF warning light pop up on the dash. Most people know the dealer charges anywhere from $300 to $800 for a forced regeneration. Some ignore the light and risk limp mode. Others schedule an expensive dealer visit. In many cases, you can trigger the regeneration yourself just by driving on the highway. The diesel particulate filter is part of your exhaust that traps soot. Over time, it fills up and needs to burn off the buildup in a process called regeneration. When your DPF light comes on, try this before going to the dealer. Drive on the highway at a steady speed of 50 to 65 miles per hour for at least 20 minutes. Keep the engine RPM above 2,000. Avoid cruise control if you can, and avoid stopping if possible. This creates the right conditions for passive regeneration. The exhaust gets hot, the computer recognizes the opportunity, and it burns off the soot. You might notice the cooling fans running after you park, or a slight smell from the exhaust. That means it is working. The reason DPF lights are so common is that many diesel owners only drive short trips. The filter never gets hot enough to clean itself. If you only drive 10 minutes to work and back, regeneration never completes. This method only works if you catch the problem early. If you have ignored the warning for weeks, or if the light is flashing, the filter may be too clogged. The best prevention is to take a longer highway drive once a week if you mostly do short trips. Think of it as exercise for your diesel. Now here is a brake job nightmare that catches DIY people off guard. Trick number 3. This hidden reset retracts your electronic parking brake caliper pistons so you can do your own brake job. When people try to change brake pads on modern vehicles, they pull the wheel off and discover the caliper piston will not retract. On older cars, you could just use a C-clamp to push the piston back. But on vehicles with electronic parking brakes, that piston is connected to an electric motor and gear mechanism. If you try to force it, you might strip gears, damage the actuator, or create fault codes that lock up your parking brake. Many vehicles have a hidden button sequence that puts the electronic parking brake into maintenance mode without any scan tool. Manufacturers have documented these sequences for certain models. Subaru has a routine for some Crosstreks. Ford has brake maintenance mode on many F-150 trucks. The usual pattern involves turning the ignition on without starting, holding the parking brake switch in the release position, and pressing the brake pedal a certain number of times. When you get it right, you will hear the actuators retracting, and sometimes a service message pops up on the dash. When EPB systems become stuck or register persistent fault codes after servicing, the community traces most problems to worn or faulty EPB actuators with water ingress and corroded internals, cracked or degraded wiring harness connectors, or connector damage that interrupts signaling. Visual inspection and cleaning connectors is often the first remedy. Now buckle up, because trick number 2 could save you hundreds every time you touch your battery. This covers 4 related things: whether to keep your settings when swapping batteries, how to actually reset your car's computer, a more surgical way to do it, and a critical step most people skip on German cars. First, if you dread losing your radio presets, clock, seat memory, and all those settings when changing your battery, a simple $9 device called a memory saver prevents all of that. Before you swap batteries, plug a 9-volt battery or memory saver into your cigarette lighter or OBD port. This gives just enough power to keep your car's computers alive during the swap. When you reconnect the new battery, everything is still there. But sometimes you actually want to clear the computer memory. Maybe that check engine light is staring at you and you want to know if it is a real problem or just a glitch. Many check engine lights are the result of temporary sensor readings that were briefly out of range. They can be cleared with a simple reset. Instead of rushing to the dealer for a $50 to $150 scan, disconnect your car's battery for 15 to 30 minutes and let the computer's temporary memory fully reset. Park safely with the brake on and ignition off. Disconnect the negative terminal first and move it away from the post. Here is the critical part: wait at least 15 minutes. Many techs recommend 30 for a more thorough reset because your car's computer contains capacitors that hold a charge even after the battery is disconnected. After reconnecting, let your car idle for 5 to 10 minutes without touching the throttle. Then take a gentle drive for 10 minutes. Expect some temporary roughness or high idle as the computer adapts. Some turbo vehicles benefit from initial gentle driving without boost, followed by controlled acceleration to help relearn boost and fueling behavior. One important tip: before disconnecting your battery, use that $20 OBD scanner we talked about to read and record any trouble codes first. The reset will clear those codes, and you might want that information later. Clearing codes prematurely can hinder diagnosis by erasing data essential to tracing intermittent faults. Here's a bonus tip most people do not know. When you clear codes or disconnect the battery, you also reset something called the emissions readiness monitors. If you are buying a used car and the seller claims it runs perfectly, but your OBD scanner shows most monitors as not ready, that is a giant red flag. It means someone recently cleared the codes to hide a check engine light. Walk away. If you find the battery disconnect causes too many settings to be lost, there is a more surgical approach. Remove specific fuses that supply backup power to the computer. On many Honda models, there is a 7.5 amp fuse labeled backup in the underhood fuse box. Remove it for 10 seconds to 10 minutes, then put it back. Older Honda models may require removing both a 15-amp ECU fuse and the 7.5-amp backup fuse simultaneously for about 10 minutes for a deeper reset. This resets the adaptive memory more completely than a battery disconnect while keeping more of your settings. Certain Subaru models have a physical ECU reset plug hidden behind the dashboard near the steering column. You can detach this plug for a few seconds to reset the ECU without disconnecting the battery at all. This keeps your radio presets and clock settings intact while still clearing adaptive memory. Check your model's forums to see if yours has this hidden plug. Now here is something critical for German car owners. On BMW, Audi, Mercedes, and Volkswagen, from about 2002 onward, installing a new battery without registering it with the computer is setting yourself up for early battery failure. These vehicles track battery age, capacity, and charging history. The computer adjusts the alternator charging strategy as the battery gets older. When you install a new battery without registering it, the computer keeps using the old profile and might overcharge the new battery, killing it in a year or two instead of lasting 5 to 7 years. Registration involves using a scan tool to tell the computer about the new battery specs. Tools like Carly, Bimmerlink, VCDS, and OBD11 do this and usually cost less than $200 total. It is a worthwhile investment for any German car owner. And that brings us to trick number 1. This reset can save you from a transmission replacement that costs thousands. When your transmission starts shifting hard, hesitating between gears, or shuddering during acceleration, you might get quoted $1,500 to $4,000 for a rebuild. In many cases, these symptoms are caused by corrupted adaptive memory in the transmission control module, not mechanical failure, and you can often fix it with a simple pedal hold that costs nothing. Modern transmissions adapt to your driving style and adjust shift timing and clutch pressures over time. These adaptations can get out of sync, especially if the car has had multiple owners with different driving styles. When that happens, you get symptoms that feel like a failing transmission, but are actually just software that needs to be reset. With the car parked safely and the brake on, turn the ignition to the on position without starting. Press the gas pedal all the way to the floor and hold it for 30 seconds. Release the pedal, turn the ignition off, wait 10 seconds, then start the engine. This clears certain adaptive values and forces the module to start fresh with factory defaults. Ford owners with the 10-speed 10R80 transmission have a specific documented relearn procedure. After clearing adaptives with ForeScan or a dealer tool, warm the engine and transmission on a level road. Then perform controlled accelerations from a stop using about 15% throttle so the transmission produces smooth upshifts while keeping engine speeds between roughly 1300 and 1600 RPM. Continue to around 55 miles per hour, then gently decelerate to a full stop and cycle through neutral, reverse, neutral, and drive with short pauses. Repeat this entire sequence 7 times. Some cars have official relearn routines with specific drive cycles, temperatures, and throttle positions. GM vehicles sometimes need the fluid at a certain temperature around 170 degrees before the relearn executes properly. You have to research your specific car model and follow the steps. This reset only works if the transmission is mechanically sound. If you have metal shavings in the fluid or total failure to engage gears, you need a real repair. But before you accept that $4,000 quote, try this 30-second trick first. So there you have it. 12 completely free car reset secrets that can save you thousands of dollars and protect you from expensive misdiagnoses. We started with understanding why some lights cannot be reset, worked through simple resets like oil lights and window relearns, covered advanced procedures like throttle body and transmission relearns, and finished with the trick that can save you from a $4,000 transmission rebuild. Remember, these resets are diagnostic tools, not magic fixes. If you have a real mechanical failure, no reset will cure it. But in many cases, the symptoms that send people to expensive shops are just corrupted memory, sensors that need recalibration, or systems that need to relearn after maintenance. If you found value in this video, share it with anyone who owns a car. These secrets are too valuable to keep to yourself. Drop a comment and let me know which reset surprised you or which one you are going to try first. The best defense against expensive car repairs is knowledge. Now you have knowledge most car owners do not. But there is one more reset trick I could not fit into this video. It costs less than $20, makes your engine run like it just rolled off the factory floor, and 97% of drivers have never heard of it. Click right here to see exactly how it works. Use what you have learned wisely, stay safe, and I will see you in the next video.